Hi, this is Dr. Scott, and today I want to get into the overall nature of what this thing called tinnitus or ringing in the ears is. So, we actually have at our clinic here at Tulsa.com, and our new audiologist, Dr. Karen Furnell, actually has real great capabilities of handling this stuff. And that's one of the reasons why I love what Dr. Karen does with this. Um, but let me tell you some of the background of this. This is what got me into our field. When I started to study the nature of this thing called tinnitus, which is in essence is a junk term for all kinds of different sounds that your ear can make. Now, listen, people ask the question, is it a medical condition or is it a symptom? It is a symptom. Okay. Some people think of it as a medical condition, but here's what symptoms are. If, for instance, I've had three major knee issues, which are called an ACL injury, okay, which is a really ugly tear of this anterior cruciate ligament. Okay. What are the symptoms of it? Like if you had it, you'd hear a pop and your knee would then shear against from the lower section to the upper section, which is called inferior to superior sections, right? And that shearing causes your knee to slip out, and so it's like a dislocation on a continual basis with that. And so the symptom is what you're feeling, the pain that you might feel in that way. And we can think of that in a million different ways. But when you have the symptom, and I'm not talking about, listen, you went to a concert and you're ringing after the concert. It's a one-time little event, or you got really sick with a cold, and you got some ringing, and it goes away after a few days or whatever, and you really never have it again. What we're looking at are those people who, throughout a day, there's two different types. It's called intermittent, which means all day long they hear it for a while and then it goes away. They hear it for a while and it goes away, but it's happening every single day. Then we have people who are the continuous, and when they have it, that is either a ringing, a buzzing, a clicking, and it's an annoying noise. It's some people, it's just loud enough that they can sort of hear it, but some people hear it very loudly. And I kid you not, it'd be like someone walking up and just whistling in your ear. And you'd be like, after a while, I'd be like, shut up. You just look over the person. Would you stop whistling all the time? Just have a person that would whistle things, and it just make me crazy. As a musician, I just can't stand that. But if you had that going on, it can create psychological problems. It can lead people to suicide. It can lead people to, ruins their relationships, because it's this constant irritant, and they're awake a lot of the time. It creates so many other problems. Now, what can that come from? It can happen because of medication. Now, we've seen patients. I remember, when I was first in grad school, there was this woman who was taking aspirin on a daily basis. Most people don't do this, but remember, this was back in the 80s when I was in grad school. And she was saying, well, yeah, I used to take like 2 aspirin a day, right? So it's about 800 milligram at the time. And then she said, I was like, okay, so what's happening now? Well, now my hearing's a lot worse. And it was a nursing home. And she goes, and this ringing is like horrible right now. So that's what I said. Okay, so you took 2 aspirin a day. Did you do anything different? She goes, well, now I'm taking like 10. I'm like, why? And she said, well, the doctor told me. I don't know if the doctor told her or not. It doesn't really matter. But the point was, now she's taking 10. Of course, the tinnitus is a symptom of how much acetaminophen that she's taking at that moment, right? Or whatever that might be of that case. So medications can do it. We have medical conditions that can happen to people. They can have a closed head injury. Hit on the head, hit on the neck, and that could cause that kind of tinnitus. You can have tinnitus because of other weirder, biochemical issues that are going on in the body. You can have tinnitus because of hearing loss. You've had long-term noise damage effects, and there's a bunch of other crazier ones that happen. And really, when you have a symptom, you can ignore it. And I see people, it's not that bad, but it is. It's affecting their lives all the time. And so I say, you need to go address that. And let me give you an example. It's a little bit random, but you'll catch it, right? There's this one gentleman that came in and he goes, he's talking about his hearing loss, right? And he's talking about his tinnitus as well. And he goes, and I just don't go to church anymore. I'm like, okay, well, what's that about, right? And he goes, well, they just don't have anything good to say. Okay, and we're in the Tulsa office, and he lives in Sand Springs, which is just a west of the Tulsa area. I'm like, well, did you change churches? He goes, no. I said, so you've been going to the same church for how long? Well, 35 years. Okay. So did have a new pastor? No. Did they start teaching from a weird gospel you never heard of before? He goes, no. And I said, and his wife is looking at it, just smiling. She knows where I'm going, right? And I go, is it that he's just now hard to understand because you can't hear him, and your ringing is a problem, and you just don't understand him anymore? He goes, maybe. You see, he had put it off, and he put it on the blame on the other person, right? The pastor, instead of, wait, maybe it was me. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, and it just is so hard to deal with. Well, that happens in that way as well with tinnitus, or the ringing in the ears. Now, what we do is some tinnitus clinics will tell you, oh, we have this cool tinnitus clinic. And the evaluations aren't any different than any other hearing evaluation that is done. Now, it is $150 payment that you do. It is not by insurances. We will not file insurance for that $150 evaluation. Again, you can go other places, but it's not covered by any insurance whatsoever. Trust me on that issue. So it is a $150 evaluation. We are going to ask a billion little levels of questions so that we know the whole variety of what could be happening. And then we're going to do evaluations way beyond any hearing evaluation you've ever had in the past. And you need to have a doctor of audiology. And that's one of the reasons why I like Dr. Furnow, excuse me, and to have her do this is because she has that passion to take care of it. And there are so many different. Now, one of the things we do is we just want to stop there. Some people go, oh, you should just get hearing aids. Like, well, maybe that's the answer, but that's not the only answer. And so we look very holistic to find out what could be some of the approaches. There are different referral sources that we have that you have never been to in the past. And we won't know that until you come for an evaluation. I have people all the time, well, I have this tinnitus, it's gone on for this long. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't tell me enough. You can't talk to me over the phone and get that information. We have to do a full evaluation. And then we go, oh, I got it. This is the area that we need to kind of refer you. So we have referral sources of different ones. We actually have a cool little thing that you can watch about an over-the-counter tinnitus essential oil that I've created that we do with a process of applying it. You don't have to do any of those kinds of things, but there are different ways and processes of how that we handle this situation, because there's no piece of medicine. Like, you can't take a drug, you can't necessarily do a surgery. Sometimes there are, but you can't really have this quick fix, boop, it all goes away. It is a process of looking at several different areas. There's sometimes we actually recommend counseling in different ways, how to mitigate the whole process, because tinnitus just doesn't scream out at me, this is my only problem, right? you have to do a really strong and deep evaluation that we don't normally do. Excuse me, we don't normally do on patients who just have pure hearing loss or they're wondering about their hearing. When you have an issue of tinnitus, we want to go deep. So you can call us over at Hearing Solution, go to heartulsa.com, and you can see our tinnitus page. Before you come in, we always ask, would you please go watch this video right here so you have the clue about what might be the case and what we might go through. So we will ask you different questions, and then we're going to follow up with you within that month and say, how did that do? What did that fix everything or get you in a better place? And what else could we address? And that's part of that $150 with that too. So we want to be there to help take care of you. Promise it'll make a difference. So go to heartulsa.com and you'll find directly to us. Thanks so much.